So today, let's talk about two very different paths. One is about climbing the corporate ladder, and the other, it's about building that ladder from scratch. We're going to get into why that second journey, the entrepreneurial one, can change you in ways that no fancy job title ever could, even if it doesn't end with a billion-dollar exit.
You've heard this question before, right? So, what have you accomplished since we last spoke? It sounds harmless, just a way to catch up. But if you've ever stepped off that traditional career track, you know that question can feel, well, pretty heavy. And that's exactly where this story really gets started.
You know, this whole idea kicked off for me after a really raw, honest chat I had with a friend. She'd left the corporate world a while back to start her own thing, and her answer to that simple question, it just really stuck with me.
Wow. That just hits you right in the gut, doesn't it? She was genuinely worried about being measured by that old corporate yardstick, feeling like she didn't have some big, shiny accomplishment to show for her time. And that feeling, that fear, is something so many founders and creators know all too well.
Because here's what gets completely missed in that kind of exchange: the absolutely staggering amount of courage it takes to build something from zero. It is a kind of bravery that, let's be honest, you just don't have to summon when you're working inside a huge, well-oiled machine.
And this brings us to this bigger concept, something you could almost call the corporate illusion. It's how we see success when it's got a giant and famous brand name behind it, and how that can sometimes mask what's really going on.
Warren Buffett, of course, just nails it with this quote. The tide here, that's the corporate machine. It's all the resources, the brand recognition, the safety nets. It's only when that tide recedes that you get to see what an individual can really do on their own 2 feet.
And think about what that corporate tide actually is. We're talking about a massive support system, a brand people already trust, processes that have been perfected for decades, huge teams, stable cash flow, basically resources for anything you could possibly need. When you strip all of that away, the game completely changes.
So here's the bottom line. There's a huge difference between being the person who builds the engine and being part of the crew that keeps that engine running. Now, both jobs are important for sure, but they are not the same thing, and we really shouldn't be judging them with the same set of rules.
Okay, so let's zoom in on the founder's journey. Let's put these two worlds right next to each other, because that's when you really start to see the difference in the struggle and the scale of the challenge.
So on one hand, you've got someone stepping into a role inside a system that's been fine-tuned for like 40 years. On the other hand, you have a founder literally staring at a blank sheet of paper, trying to pull a working process out of thin air.
And what about the people? A corporate manager might have a team of hundreds to delegate to, but a founder, especially at the beginning, they are the team. They're the CEO, the head of sales, the marketing department, the janitor, all of it, all at once.
And then, let's talk about risk. One person gets a guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks, no matter what. The other is betting their entire life savings, their future, their sanity, all of it on one single idea. The stakes just could not be more different.
I love this quote from Steve Jobs because it's so empowering. It's a reminder that these founders, these builders, they aren't some kind of superhuman species. They're just regular people who made a choice to build the world instead of just living in the one someone else made. So really, we're not just talking about two different jobs. We're talking about two completely different ways of growing, of learning, of existing. It really is the ultimate comparison, climbing versus building. The learning curve for a founder is just vertical. It's insane. And why is that? It's because survival demands it. When every single decision you make could be the end of your company, you are forced to learn more in 1 year than most people do in 5 years at a stable job. It's growth by fire. I mean, just look at this list. This is the pressure cooker that founders live in every single day. There's no safety net. Everything feels urgent. Every mistake literally costs you money. Wins feel like they vanish in a second, and your failures, they often feel incredibly public. And somehow, they get up and do it again the next day.
Is there any quote that captures the feeling better than this one from Reid Hoffman? It's pure chaos, it's absolutely terrifying, and it demands this unbelievable mix of creativity and blind faith, all while you're in a total free fall.
So if you want to boil it all down to its simplest form, it's this. One path is about climbing a ladder that someone else already built. The other path is about building that ladder from scratch, one painful, rickety rung at a time.
And that brings us to the final and I think most powerful idea here. We have to change how we think about the journey itself, not just the finish line. It's all about what the struggle, the failures, what the scars actually teach you.
You know, society loves to look at the scoreboard. We measure the revenue, the valuation, the big, splashy exit. What we completely ignore are all the inputs, the sheer guts it took to even start, the resilience to get knocked down 10 times and get up 11, the sleepless nights, the sacrifices. The real growth, it happens in the process.
And this is the fundamental truth. That raw courage, the kind it takes to put everything on the line, day after day, that is a leadership skill of the absolute highest level. And you can't learn that in a corporate workshop with a PowerPoint deck. You can only earn it in the arena.
So, yeah, let's be real. A big, fancy title from a famous company, it's impressive. It signals that you achieved something significant within an established system, and that's totally valid. But the scars an entrepreneur earns along the way, the failures, the pivots, the lessons learned through survival, they do something so much deeper. They don't just impress people. They fundamentally transform who you are as a person. So I want to leave you with this question. And it doesn't have to be about starting a company. It could be any time in your life where you chose to build something instead of just climbing. Think about it. What journey has left you with the scars that have truly deeply transformed you?